Hey guys, today we will be talking about arrow pushing mechanisms. So, what is an arrow pushing mechanism? It is basically a way to visually represent the transfer of electrons from bases to acids. So, let's take a look at a pretty common equation. H2O, which is water, plus NH3 yields OH minus plus NH4 plus. So, the first thing we want to do here is identify what is the acid and what is the base. So if you remember back to our definitions of an acid and a base is what will be receiving the proton, aka donating the electrons, and an acid is what will be donating the hydrogen, aka proton, and receiving the electron. So let's see. So you have H2O and NH3 as a reactant, so let's analyze H2O to begin with. So H2O, and let's see what H2O becomes. H2O becomes OH, and we see the removal of a hydrogen because there's two hydrogens in H2O and only one hydrogen in OH. Which means that since it's losing a hydrogen, that means it's donating that hydrogen, which means H2O is the base. So down here we have the Lewis structures written for the equation. So let's identify. H2O is the acid. So, which means NH3 must be the base, but let's just cross-verify just to make sure. So we have NH3, and it's becoming NH4 plus. So obviously the plus indicates that it's receiving a proton. And you also see that it's going from NH3 to NH4, which means that it's gaining a proton. So H2O is donating, and NH3 is gaining a proton, which means, like we said before, it's a base. So let's label it over here again. And when you're drawing an when you're drawing an arrow pushing mechanism, you have to draw the Lewis structures like I did over here. So let's get going. And obviously, because we are drawing the Lewis structures to draw the arrow pushing mechanism, we will be specifically looking at the can't see that color. I'm gonna pick a different color. We will be specifically looking at the Lewis definition of acids and bases. So, like I said in the introduction to this video, the whole purpose of an arrow pushing mechanism is to represent the transfer of electrons. Now, according to the Lewis definition, what is donating and transferring its electrons to something else? Is it the acid or the base? If you said base, you're right. So let's look over here into the structure that we have laid out. NH3 is the base, and as you can see, we have an exposed lone pair over here. That lone pair is going to get donated. Those electrons, that base is willing to give it away. So we're going to draw those electrons. They're going to get transferred over here. Now, we're going to draw the electrons being transferred towards the hydrogen because that means that these electrons will be replaced by this hydrogen. So let's see what that is. So now these electrons are replaced, and we're going to have a hydrogen here, which you can see over here. And now this hydrogen is gone, right? This hydrogen is gone. As you can see, there's no second hydrogen in the H2O over here. But you still have that bond over here. And that bond has two. It has two electrons. What are you going to do with those two electrons? You can't just leave them floating, which is why they have to reach the oxygen, because oxygen wants to fill its octet. They can't go this way because that's hydrogen, and it can't have more than two electrons, so it can't go that way. So it's going to go this way, and it's going to hit the oxygen. So now the oxygen has 3 lone pair electrons, and it's also bonded to that H, which we can see over here. So now you're just left with OH. And we denote it with a minus sign because it's gaining an electron pair. And over here we're going to denote it with a positive because it is gaining a proton.